You're listening to Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune out now.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, that microphone's a little hot. Let's turn it down a wee bit. Welcome to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, otherwise known as BZ's Saloon, where I am broadcasting from North Idaho, all around me, in an actual free state. Who am I? What am I? I am your conservative Sherpa guiding you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Please note, what you're about to hear consists of, well, for the next 2 hours, consists of my opinion, and my opinion only, because I'm sorry, man, I got no guest tonight. It's just me. It's just the fat boy. So, if you would, saddle up. I'm doing the job the American media maggots won't. I am fundamentally changing America one leftist diaper at a time. Like Mike Savage used to say, red diaper doper babies. Savage. Great message, crappy messenger. By the way, we don't water our drinks. Just like we don't water our conversations, we are still serving stiff drinks in the saloon, along with facts, history, logic, rationality, proportion, context, tradition, and common sense for normal people. You know what? Like you and me. That's why you're here tonight. 17 people already running live. Thank you for being here tonight. Let's see, what do we talk about? What do we talk about here, BZ? Well, we talk about politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all right here at the saloon, where the speech is free, but the booze is not. Booze? What booze? I am streaming live right now on Rumble and X and Twitch and at KLRN. Hubba, Facebook and the SHR Media YouTube channel. And it is January the 14th, the year of our Lord, 2025. Look, I've got all this cool technology. Look at that right there. I changed a few things around. I kind of spiffed up the saloon a little bit. I actually cleaned, if you can believe it, pulled out the broom. The desk is not quite as dusty as it was. Changed, let's see. Oops, wrong way. Changed that thing right there a little bit. And so tonight in the saloon, we're going to go a whole bunch of places. I do have my standard stuff that I'm going to be going to. I will have happy stories because there are some happy stories. We're going to be talking about, well, do you think I'm going to do the Chicago thing? Well, the answer would be, why, yes, I am going to be doing the Chicago thing tonight. We're going to make fun of leftists. We're going to have a number of things ripped from today's screaming headlines of the Pete Hegseth inquiry. No one likes a Spanish Inquisition. If that hadn't just popped into my head, I would have come up with that Monty Python bit. God, I love Monty Python. Monty Python, how wonderful. By the way, if you're here, please subscribe, if you would, to the SHR Media channel, and also subscribe to, if you would, to Rumble. I appreciate that. And also, let me throw this into the mix, if we will. Jump into our chat room, if you would, pretty please. I'm getting some complaints, however, about that sofa. I may end up changing that sofa back. But if you're in the chat room, you can jump into it mostly from YouTube. And I look over here occasionally to see if there is chat going on in Rumble, and otherwise known as Rumble Chat. Not Rumble Cat, Rumble Chat. So thanks for being here. Mondays are kind of crazy. Tuesdays can be a little crazy. I just thought that for a moment I would reflect. Oh, programming note. I'm going to try an experiment for this Thursday. Next Tuesday, I'm going to be having my cybersecurity expert back on, Mike Fitzpatrick, and he's going to be talking about the comments that you will hear later on in the show about FBI Director, not long for this world, FBI Director Chris Wray, after the 20th. But he's talking about how China has slipped into a great deal of our infrastructure. To many, this should come as no surprise. But when Mike comes in and speaks about cybersecurity, and he will next Tuesday night, he adds that certain savoir-faire that Techno-Luddite BZ right here absolutely and completely lacks. That's next Tuesday. This Thursday, I'm going to be trying something new and unique. Now, it used to be when I was trying to get the show going, I would find somebody on social media that I thought was interesting, and I'd ask if they wanted to be on the air. One of the great things about bringing the show back as of January last year, so I've been back on Rumble for almost a year now. Later on January this year, it will be a year that I have come back. I left California in, I sold my house in 2021 and sold my Mrs. BZ's house in 2022. We didn't actually arrive here until 2023, and we had a whole bunch of stuff to do, and I didn't get my show rolling back until January of 2024. Before that, and I didn't have the option, really, of video. And at the time, in 2018, 2019, when we went video, there weren't a whole lot of people that were doing video. And of course, the only person that actually made the show roll was Sackhead Sean. He's not here. He's back in Sacramento. So I had to take care of things by myself. But now we have video. And I love having guests on video. It's damn awesome. Well, before I had video, I used to have guests on the phone. And now that I have video, I always offer video. Before I did that, I would find somebody that I thought was cool on social media. I'd invite them on. Thursday night is going to be another experiment. This is an individual that either doesn't have video or doesn't want to be seen or doesn't want to use video. I'm not sure, but I picked this individual kind of at random out of X, Twitter. And she is a big advocate for January 6th prisoners. And her gig is she wants and has been organizing a nationwide help our January 6th people, be there for them if and when they get their pardons. She believes that Trump will pardon January 6th. Trump has said so, but it's not something that he's been addressing and hammering home. Well, I invited her on the show. She accepted. I don't know whether she's going to use her real name or not. That's actually kind of immaterial at this point. She's called Trumpertarian. But the thing that I want to talk to her about is the foundational aspects of January 6th. What happened? What really happened? What happened to these prisoners, some of whom committed suicide? The federal government buried them in prisons all around the United States of America. If you thought that they were kept in one particular place, like, I don't know, a DC prison, no, that's wrong. That's not. They've been secreted all across the United States of America. That's intentional. Many of them have been in solitary confinement for what essentially are misdemeanors. Now, for those who got violent, okay, I'm talking about a separate category. But the people who essentially were asked to come in by the various minions of the United States Capitol Police, they had gates opened for them. They had doors opened for them. I want to find out what happened. And she's been working on this a long time. So I'm hoping that she'll be able to shed some light over this. She'll be on Thursday. I'm hoping it'll be a really cool show. I know almost nothing about her. Usually when I have somebody coming on the show, I'll get a CV. I'll have an idea what the background is. I'm not really getting a whole lot of that right here. So it'll be an interesting art form this Thursday when I interview. First, she only wanted to do 15 minutes. I suggested, listen, it's my show. You want 15 minutes, you got it. I would much prefer a half hour. And if you have it to spare, I would love a full hour, because then I can really dig deep into any number of salient issues. And I suggested, and if you want it, if we get really verbose, you can have a full 2 hours. She balked and said half hour. And then I suggested heartily again that she take the full hour. So we'll wait and see. This is an experiment in progress. 27 people watching the show live right now. Also in chat is Unleash Jeremy Hansen. That sofa is awesome. Jeremy says, hey, you know what? Let's see if I can put this up. There we go. Hey, I learned something new. And also Only Zeus is here. Hey, men, I'm just asking if you need a video editor to edit your live stream. Oh, that sounds like a commercial. Okay. Anyway, hello, everybody in YouTube chat. That is from Jeremy Hansen. And Jeremy, thanks for being here tonight. I'm looking over in Rumble chat. Not a heck of a lot going on right now. However, let's do this because I can't wait. Social media has some great videos and great audio stuff, and this is one of them. Baby. And of course, as we know, the show is about to start, but there's some very interesting aspects of that. Let's go down here. Everybody said, well, where were all the riots? Fear not, the plans are in progress. January 20th, we fight back for workers' rights, of course. And Trump ran a con game. Seems to me Trump was the victim of a con game. And of course, the usual suspects are revolving all around this. The People's Forum, Palestinian Youth Movement, Answer Coalition, Labor on the Line, Black Men Build. What? Oh, Democrat Socialists of America. Of course. Why not? Code Pink, etc. And so, Jeremy Hansen, you may have a good point. I may have to bring back the old chat room. I think I may end up doing that. By the way, I want to remind everybody that as per Gavin Newsom, remember, these are mostly peaceful wildfires. Very peaceful wildfires. Also, this is a great explanation. Someone sent this to me, and I thought, okay, I will play this tonight, which helps to delineate the difference in French between a democracy and a republic, and gives a great background on why you're hearing democracy so much right now.
Democracy is a political system in which the people periodically, by majority vote at the polls, select their rulers. The rulers then have absolute power to make whatever laws they please by majority vote among themselves. In a constitutional republic, the people also, by majority vote at the polls, select rulers who make laws by majority vote among themselves. But the rulers cannot make any laws they please because the Constitution severely restricts their lawmaking power. The ideal of a democracy is universal equality. The ideal of a constitutional republic is individual liberty. In this century, great strides have been made toward the goal of subverting our republic and transforming it into a democracy. The foremost tactic of the subverters is subversion of language. By calling America a democracy until people thoughtlessly accept and use the term, totalitarians have obscured the real meaning of American principles of government. A democracy is a political system in which the people periodically, by majority vote at the polls, select their rulers.
That's a good explanation. I would like to go into that on another time, another show, and explore that in depth. For example, somebody asked me not long ago, a couple of days ago, hey, why do you call everybody leftists? Why don't you just use the standard word liberals? Because there is a massive amount of difference between what is a classic liberal and someone who is an out-and-out leftist. So I have kicked that word liberal to the curb because primarily they just don't exist anymore. Yesterday's classic liberal is kind of today's Democrat. It's so weird. But anyway, let us continue.
The bloviating Zeppelins, HeyJackass.com Chicago death toll update. Courtesy of every leftist running that city. From the mayor, police chief, and every aldercrap in the 50 wards.
You knew I was going to do this, didn't you? Hey, anyway, folks, this is HeyJackass.com. This is from HeyJackass.com, illustrating Chicago values and Chicago, the city of big shoulders, where crime never dipped. Now, the FBI said crime dipped like crazy. Apparently, Chicago didn't get the memo. January to date, shot and killed 12, shot and wounded 49, total shot 61, total homicides 14. Week in progress. January the 12th to January 18th, shot and killed 2, shot and wounded 9, total shot 11, total homicides 2. The final 2024 totals versus 2023, shot and killed 538. That's down 7%. Shot and wounded 2,444. That's down 2%. Total shot 2,982. That's down 3%. And total homicides 610. That's down 6%. So what that means is a person is shot every 2 minutes and 57 seconds in the city of Chicago, and a person is murdered every 14 minutes and 23 seconds. HeyJackass.com, illustrating Chicago values.
The bloviating Zeppelins, HeyJackass.com Chicago death toll update. Courtesy of every leftist running that city. From the mayor, police chief, and every aldercrap in the 50 wards.
Okay, it should surprise no one that I do have some happy stories tonight.
It's time for Happy
let's go
stories
there.
and good times.
Let's go there. There are some happy stories, not a ton, not like I've had in the past couple of weeks, but if you look for them, they are present. Here's one. This I find an amazing amount of, I don't know, irony in it, maybe schadenfreude, maybe irony. I'll go with that. This is a happy story. 9 suspected gang members charged in the violent kidnapping at Aurora, Colorado apartment. But wait, okay. This is the Aurora, Colorado apartments where you were told about 3 months ago because there were the Tren de Aragua gang members there, and you actually saw videos of gang members with guns knocking on doors in that same apartment complex, and you were told that you were an abject racist. You were a racist if you thought there were gang members in Colorado, because that was refuted by the Aurora mayor. That was refuted by the Aurora police department, was it not? Don't believe your lying damn eyes, but it is a happy story because 9 gang members involved in torture at that very same apartment complex, they were charged with torture and robbery and various other crimes. Plus, also, here's another happy story. A judge approved an emergency order to close migrant gang-infested Aurora, Colorado apartment complex. And again, now wait. Thanks to everybody. There's 34 people listening and watching live right now. Thanks to you. Thank you. And as I said, this is the same apartment complex where you were told, don't believe anything that you see. If you think that gang members are infesting an apartment complex, oh, I'm sorry for having used that word. Infesting? How about infecting? Infecting an apartment complex. You were not supposed to believe your lying eyes because Aurora, they said so, the PD said so, and you're a racist. Just like Hegseth. We'll get into Hegseth. All these people, leftists, is sex and race. That's all they have. That's all they care for. That's the only thing that figures in this world. And yet apparently that apartment complex was sufficiently evil and in fact infested with a number of gang members that a judge gave the okay to, you know what? We're going to close this place down. This is not doing well. This is not boding well. Here's another happy story. Let's go here. Mike Johnson, who squeaked through by the hair of his chinny chin for keeping his speaker job, was asked, hey, if you give some money to California, are you thinking of putting conditions on that? And Mike Johnson said,
are you open to providing aid to California without any conditions at all?
I think we've got to have a serious conversation about that. Obviously, there's been water resource mismanagement, forest management mistakes, all sorts of problems. And it does come down to leadership. And it appears to us that state and local leaders were derelict in their duty in many respects. So that's something that has to be factored in. I think there should probably be conditions on that aid. That's my personal view. We'll see what the consensus is. I haven't had a chance to socialize that with any of the members over the weekend because we've all been very busy, but it'll be part of the discussion for sure.
What about the debt limit increase? What about tying the debt limit increase to it?
There's some discussion about that, but we'll see where it goes.
that is something that I would highly recommend. If you give money, if you give federal money, my federal taxpayer dollars, your federal taxpayer dollars to the state of California, always spell it with a K, you have to make sure that there are strictures attached to it, that something has to change. You don't negotiate like the Biden regime. The Biden regime and the Barack Hussein Obama regime were nothing but giveaway machines. They didn't have any idea how to negotiate. It was, we give everything in the United States and evil receives everything, but we don't get anything in return. And so a lot of people have been saying recently, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. Oh, Trump, Panama Canal, he's going to take it over by force. Greenland, he's going to take it over by force. Stop. Don't be stupid. Okay? I'm not saying you. I'm saying the people that are saying, oh, he's just nuts. They don't grok how Trump works yet. He's a negotiator. Like I said, he starts off way steely on an issue, then he starts talking, and then he starts throwing numbers, spitballing, making threats, hitting bank shots multiple times here and there, makes a feint over here, makes a feint over there, makes some more threats maybe. He pitches suggestions. But then ultimately, generally, he gets what he wants. It's part and parcel of the package of the book that he wrote called The Art of the Deal. So let's look just for a moment at Greenland. I want to buy Greenland. Well, if Denmark decides, we'll sell it. It's $1.95 just for you today. Cool. That's wonderful. $1.95 for Greenland. Hey, that's how we got Louisiana from the French. You ever wonder why a lot of the people down there, Cajuns, still speak French? Wait a minute. If you don't know your American history, maybe now you understand why that occurs. You know why Trump wants Greenland, whether he buys it or not. Maybe there's a treaty that he gets out of it, American bases. That is a very strategic location, and he wants to get in there for trade routes and shipping routes and put bases there so that we can secure our future, the United States future, the future of freedom, and make sure that China and Russia don't get involved in that crap. Here's another happy story. Do I have time? Yeah, I got a couple more minutes before the bottom of the hour break. Here's another happy story. Well, we tried it before, and I signed a petition before I left for making sure that Gavin Newsom gets a recall. Well, he just kind of missed it. Oh, hey, in chat also is, besides Unleashed Jeremy Hansen, Zeus, and also his Mission Ready Men. Thank you very much for being here tonight. And we got 36 people watching live right now. Thanks to all of you. NK, not kidding. Not North Korea. Come on, not kidding. Thanks for being here tonight. California Governor Newsom faces a recall for woefully unprepared response to devastating LA fires. I'm not going to go into that at this point, but I will have a show that's going to be done in the future about all the people that think that they're going to be rebuilding in the state of California. And to that, I would say essentially GFL. And that means good fucking luck to you for that, for rebuilding. Because if you think that you're going to just be able to walk in and everything will be fine and you'll be able to rebuild your house and you won't have to do anything. And oh, folks, you have no idea what you're facing. I'm BZ. Thanks for being here tonight. Time to take a potty break.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Come listen to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Live on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Rumble channel, SHR Media YouTube channel, X, Twitch, Spreaker, and wherever great conservative podcasts are found. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, guides you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Raised as a free-range child with dirt, stains, mud, and freedom, BZ broadcasts from North Idaho, comfortably surrounded by actual normal people. Jump into our plush, sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent chat room on rumble.com. Click on live chat to join. Now, with 37% more umbrage and 19% more bulbosity than previous shows, featuring delicious Liberty additives for the best in late-night Conservatarian talk radio. BZ reminds you that with great beard comes great responsibility. No chinchillas were harmed, embarrassed, fat-shamed, or the focus of any sarcasm whatsoever in the making of this ad.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Hey fellas, are you mission ready? Coming in November to SHR Media. By way of Big E Jackson, you need to check out Mission Ready Men. It's a show that equips you to navigate our society's challenges from a biblical perspective with courage and conviction. Tune into Mission Ready Men as we examine our culture through the prism of biblical truths, teachings, and how to apply them in our daily lives. Prepare to step up, stand out, and step into your role as a man, as ordained by God. That's Mission Ready Men, hosted by Earl Jackson, coming this November on the SHR Media Network. And get mission ready.
Want to make an immediate difference in the life of a critically ill child? You have the ability to do that right now. Make a donation to Dream Makers for Life, the organization that restores dreams to seriously ill children and their families. You can sponsor a dream pack for a child, which contains a clear PVC backpack, a dry erase board adventure coloring book, a journal, and dry erase markers to inspire a critically ill child to envision a future adventure and hope. Want to become a dream maker for life yourself? Go to dreamforlife.org. That's dreamforlife.org. Help a child. Help a family. There is always hope.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thank you very much for being here tonight. It's the first section, the first half hour of the show. We have 40 people watching live right now, thanking you. You and you and you and you and you and you and all of you. Thank you ever so kindly for being here. You saw my social media stuff right there. That's where you can go to find me. And I am BZ. If you want to jump into my chat room, I have a great chat room, and that's how you can do it. You jump into the chat room on the SHR Media YouTube channel and also on Rumble. If you happen to be watching on Rumble, which I would always suggest because they do not censor me, folks. Click on live chat and you can be in the chat room ASAP, quick like a bunny. Today, something interesting occurred. Pete Hegseth. Now, everyone, leftists, Democrats were saying, there's no way we are going to approve Pete Hegseth. For one thing, well, he's a racist. He had this horrible cross, which means that he's a racist, and it was tattooed on his breast or his chest or somewhere. And on his arm, it says, "We the people." How terrible. That's just racist. Until they found out that at Jimmy Carter's funeral, he had the same cross. That's called the Jerusalem cross. But it was okay for Jimmy. But it's not okay for Pete Hegseth, because what people are looking for is a lot more of what you see on the right rather than what you see on the left. And so This is what he's trying to do away with. I'll wager a lot of you don't recall that these cadets were forced to wear high heels to remind these evil, officious, mostly white supremacist things that wanted to be in our most beloved military that, hey, women have a tough time. You need to suffer just like women do. And then this is also what I believe Pete Hegseth is trying to reduce. Now, again, my filter is primarily gone at my age. Lieutenant Colonel Bree Fram, I don't know, maybe the rich, very wealthy originator of the oil filter. Perhaps yes, perhaps no. Don't know. Anybody that's this oriented that gets into the military shouldn't be there, because to me, that displays by huge radar signals and RF that you have got some serious mental issues, and people like that with mental issues don't belong in our military. Like I said, if the transition, see what I did there, goes from if you are tolerant, and then the transition goes from tolerance to acceptance. Okay, I guess I just have to accept this. And now the point is, unless you're an advocate for this, you're wrong. You're just another ist and ob. And this is what needs to be done. That needs to be the end of an era. And I find it interesting that Pete Hegseth was put up for a confirmation hearing first over all the other people that Donald John Trump, OMB, Orange Man Bad, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, has submitted Pete Hegseth, who, as far as I can suss out, was the guy that most Democrats said, no, obey the hand, not going to happen. And they put him up first. So let's see what some people, and let's hear and watch what some people, Democrats, happen to think about Pete Hegseth.
So women you have denigrated. You have also denigrated members of the LGBTQ community. Did you know that when Don't Ask, Don't Tell was in place, we lost so many crucial personnel, over 1,000 in mission critical areas?
BZ couldn't care less.
We lost 10% of all our foreign language speakers because of a political policy. You said in your statement, you don't want...
Okay, number one, I don't believe that. I think 10% of our foreign language speakers are gay or trans. That, folks, is a load of bullshit from Gillibrand.
Politics in the DOD. Everything you've said in these public statements is politics. I don't want women. I don't...
Oh, isn't that rich? That Democrats are accusing Hegseth of politics.
Well, moms, what's wrong with a mom, by the way? Once you have babies, you therefore are no longer able to be lethal. I mean, you're basically saying women after they...
I have an observation to make at the end of this.
...have children can't...
That shocks you, I bet.
...ever serve in the military in a combat role. It's a silly thing to say. It's a silly thing to say beneath the position that you are aspiring to.
Stop. As I said before, all Democrats and leftists have is race and sex, sex and race, sex, race, and that's it. Nothing more. Like any good attorney, if you cannot prove something with evidence, you go for ad hominem personal attacks. Personal attacks, and then heap on the personal attacks.
To denigrate LGBTQ service members is a mistake. If you are a sharpshooter, you're as lethal regardless of what your gender identity is, regardless of who you love. So please know this to be a true statement. So
that's politicized. So here's the deal. Okay, if you want women in combat, it's another BZ if-then equation. If you want women in combat, then equality equals just that. They should be equal. If you draft men to combat. You should also draft women for combat. If you open the door, expect everyone to walk through. Said that 1,000 times. Here's Tammy Duckworth in the defense, talking about Pete Hegseth, the nominee. And this is the Senate Armed Services Committee. And let's just listen. I'll comment in.
Committee and to be confirmed by the United States Senate. And you need to convince us that you're worthy of that vote, because the people of the state of Illinois voted for me to be their senator so that I could cast that vote when it comes to picking who is going to be the next Secretary of Defense.
Because it's all about her, of course.
This hearing now seems to be a
By the way, thanks to the 40 people that are watching live right now. Greatly appreciated. Please continue.
hearing about whether or not women are qualified to serve in combat, and not about whether or not you are qualified to be Secretary of Defense. And let me just say that the American people need a SecDef who's ready to lead on day one. You are not that person. Our
Because
adversaries watch closely during times of transition, and any sense that the Department of Defense that keeps us safe is being steered by someone who's wholly unprepared for the job puts America at risk. And I am
okay, she's going to make a statement in here that no one picked up but me. I have heard not one comment about this. It's ridiculously stupid. Hegseth I can't go there right now. Let's continue.
not willing to do that. With that in mind, Mr. Hegseth, I want you to
He's probably one of the most qualified SecDefs we've had in quite some time. What pisses them off, the leftists, is he's not playing their game of race and sex and race.
to try to explain to the American people, this committee, who have to vote for you, and to our troops who are deployed around the world, why you are qualified to lead the Department of Defense. We already know that you've only led the largest, a 200-person organization. We already know that you so badly mangled a budget that after you left, they had to bring in a forensic accountant to figure out what went wrong.
Anybody hear about that? I have not at all. And that, had that been true, that would have been paraded all around the American media maggot world. Did you hear one thing about that? I didn't. Listen closely now. Listen very closely to her numbers.
And that the largest budget you ever managed was about $18 billion.
The largest budget you ever managed was $18 billion. Really? Continue, Tammy.
You know, that is about
$18 billion. It's, what is it?
about 51,560 times lower than the Department of Defense budget of $825 billion.
Not according to what you just said.
$16 million is 51,568 times smaller than the defense budget. Please.
So she's equating the size of budget, I guess, to the size of your penis or the size of your clit. The bigger a penis you have or the bigger clit you have, that means you're more capable, apparently. What? By the way, welcome to Sean Stroich in chat. Appreciate it. Thank you for being here.
Describe to me, Mr. Hegseth, you talk about DOD passing an audit. Please describe to me a time or an organization when you led underwent an audit, because you say you're going to hire smarter people than you to run this audit. I'm not asking you to be an accountant. I want you to be able to tell me what kind of guidance will be given to those employees, what will happen if whether or not you pass that audit.
What kind of guidance? Okay, I will tolerate this for maybe about another minute and then illustrate to you why she's a loon. You're a loon.
Have you led an audit of any organization? Yes or no? I don't want.
What? To quote Hillary Clinton, what difference does that make? You have peeps to do that. You're not an accountant, and she just said so.
Long answer, yes or no. Have you led an
Okay, here comes the badgering. Mark 1, Model 2 badgering. Go.
audit of any organization of which you were in charge?
Senator, in both of the organizations I ran, we were always completely fiscally responsible.
Yes or
with the
no,
money
did
that
you
we
lead
had.
an audit?
And the way
yes
my
or
leadership
no,
has
did you lead
been
an audit?
stated
Yes or
has
no?
been completely
What are you afraid of? You
mischaracterized.
can't answer this question. Yes or no, did you lead an audit? Do you not know this answer?
Senator, every
Yes or
part
no?
of my leadership
Yes
of these
or no?
organizations
Yes
has
or
been
no, did you-
misrepresented.
Okay, I'm tired of this shit. You don't need an accountant or an auditor to run as Secretary of Defense, to run the DOD, the Department of Defense. That's completely, ridiculously, a stupidly specious suggestion. Let me also throw this into the mix. The last 7 times that the Department of Defense was audited, not by Pete Hegseth, but by Lloyd Austin, allegedly, because Lloyd Austin's in charge of audits, according to this chick, Tammy Duckworth. The Pentagon failed every past 7 audits. Failure. Horrible. Terrible. Failure. So
today.
This is
do a fantastic.
This is all about nothing. All about nothing. And then, of course, here's some chick named Shaheen who is asking about, again, sex and race, race and sex, sex and race. That's all these folks have.
Fantastic job across the globe, including combat. So what I'm confused about, Mr. Hegseth, is which is it? Why should women in our military, if you were the Secretary of Defense, believe that they would have a fair shot and an equal opportunity to rise through the ranks? If on the one hand, you say that women are not competent, they make our military less effective. And on the other hand, you say, oh no, now that I've been nominated to be the Secretary of Defense.
By the way, if you think that I don't have illustrations of how women are not held to the same standard, you would be wrong. Just keep watching and listening.
I've changed my view on women in the military. What do you have to say to the almost 400,000 women who are serving today about your position on whether they should be capable to rise through the highest ranks of our military?
Senator, I would say I would be honored to have the opportunity to serve alongside you, shoulder to shoulder, men and women, black, white, all backgrounds, with a shared purpose. Our differences are not what define us. Our unity and our shared purpose is what define us, and you will be treated fairly and with dignity, honor, and respect, just like every man and woman in uniform, just like the men and women that I've worked with in my veterans organizations, to include when I was a headquarters and headquarters company commander in the Minnesota National Guard.
Well, I
We had women in
appreciate
our
your
ranks as
11th
well.
hour conversion, but Mr. Chairman, for the record, I would like to submit Chapter 5, The Deadly Obsession with Women Warriors, for the record. Mr. Hegseth.
Okay. The deadly obsession with women warriors. Women's, leftists, Democrats, put up or shut the fuck up, because all you have is race and sex. As I said, if everyone is equal, then in the next draft, and don't think that's not coming, women should be drafted. You want equality. If you don't get equality, equality means, equal. You want it, you got it. You should get it, Toyota. Again, more stories coming up. Let's continue with this. This is Senator Peters asking a few questions, and then we're gonna come back around to this dude.
You know, I made repeated requests to meet with you prior to this meeting. I know many of my other colleagues also wanted to meet with you. I did that with the other nominees that I was happy to vote for. I thought they were highly qualified individuals and true professionals. And yet I could never get a meeting with you. Was there a reason you were afraid to have one-on-one meetings with some of my colleagues before?
Oh, let me tell you the truth, of course. Mazie Hirano of Hawaii, she wouldn't return his call. 3 other Democrats wouldn't return his call. After that, you begin to think, hey, maybe they really don't want to talk to me. Continue.
For the hearing?
Senator, I know there was a great deal of outreach to multiple offices. Schedules get full. There's a lot going on.
I was ready.
And I welcome the
And of course, he doesn't call. He has assistants who do that for him.
opportunity,
I was
pending
ready.
my schedule, to have an opportunity to sit down.
I was ready. It would have been so much better. better to have that opportunity to talk beforehand. I think.
Okay, let me point out a bit from Captain Obvious, and that's this. Who did Pete Hegseth have to convince? Did he have to convince Democrats? No, he already knows that every Democrat is against him, except perhaps John Fetterman, if John Fetterman is telling you the truth. So who does he have to convince? Pete Hegseth has to convince all the rhino Republicans that if all the Republicans simply swam in lockstep, there would be no problem, would there? But it's not the Democrats. The Democrats, their numbers are not going to sway, because when it comes to circling wagons, Democrats do that very well, and certainly did that very well under Nancy Pelosi. So who was he actually tasked with convincing? Rhino Republicans. Those are the ones. And then this is an interesting rejoinder from this guy, Mr. Peters. Very interesting. Let's listen.
I'm just about trying to get things done, managing efficiently, and having the best people who have demonstrated that in a large organization.
Right.
And I'm sorry, but I don't see that in your background. There are a lot of other things you can do very well. You're a capable person, but you have not convinced me that you're able to take on this tremendous responsibility with a complex organization and having little or no significant management experience.
Senator, I'm grateful to be hired by one of the most successful CEOs in American history, should I be confirmed.
But wait, listen.
Hegseth, it seems to me that you've supervised far more people than the average United States senator supervises typically.
Well, that would certainly be a yes, wouldn't it? That's accurate, isn't it? So, Duckworth just continued to harass. I can't think of any other way. You know, you expected all this. We've seen all this stuff before. In the 90s, it's what Clarence Thomas had to put up with at the behest of Joe Biden, by the way. That way it was a lynching of a black man, which was true. Kavanaugh, everyone else, it's all cyclical. We've seen this before. We will continue to see it again. Here's another great. Now you had some laughs, right? Here's another point for some laughs. Let's enjoy it.
In other words, you're quite sure that every general who serves should not go directly into the defense industry for 10 years. You're not willing to make that same pledge?
I'm not a general, Senator.
You'll be the one, let us just be clear, in charge of the generals.
Oh, Pocahontas didn't like that. Making fun of Pocahontas.
And
except for former.
But I would agree. I think that when military individuals retire, especially higher and upper ranks, they should not be able to go anywhere or do anything with another company or become a lobbyist, anything of that nature, for a minimum of 10 years. I got to agree with that. Now, sometimes Pete Hegseth was not his greatest promoter. I think that was a wonderful opportunity for him to say, yes, yeah, I think that's a wonderful idea. I think that's a great idea. Now, it's interesting. Sean said he's smarter than them. I would agree. I would completely agree. And I think it shows. I think that's a wonderful thing. And here we go. Jeremy Hansen said, Hegseth may be the best ever. He's certainly the closest to the troops, is a big troop advocate. He's not a numbers cruncher. He will have peeps for that. And he doesn't need them. He has lots and lots of assistance for that. Let's continue with the hearing. And if you haven't seen this before, BZ, shut up and just play it, okay?
For governors, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Mullen, I understand you are yielding back your time and do not wish to ask questions. I was misinformed. Senator Mullen.
Okay.
He's stricken.
Got me totally off guard there. I'd like to submit for the record signatures by 32 members of the House of Representatives who are veterans. The signatures call on the Senate to honor the constitutional duty of advise and consent by conducting a fair, thorough confirmation process that evaluates his nomination solely on the substance and merits. His distinguished military service, academic credentials, and a bold vision for revitalizing the national defense. I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record.
Without objection.
There's a lot of talk going about talking about qualifications and then about us hiring him if we are the board. But there's a lot of senators here I wouldn't have on my board because there is no qualifications except your age, and you got to be living in the state and you're a citizen of the United States to be a senator. Other than the fact we got to convince a lot of people to vote for us. And then when we start talking about qualifications for if you're qualified for it, could the chairman tell me what the qualifications are for the Secretary of Defense? Mr. Chairman, could you tell me what the qualifications are for the Secretary of Defense?
I'd be happy
I'll read it.
For you to do that.
Let me read it for you because
I was getting some advice from my second in command.
Yeah, but I'm just making a point because there's a lot about qualifications. And I think it's so hypocritical of senators, especially on the other side of the aisle, be talking about his qualifications, not going to lead the secretary or be the secretary.
Okay, stop here just for a second. I'm looking at the time. I may go over the break just a little. I know that's going to make you all cry, but let's continue.
Defense, and yet your qualifications aren't any better. You guys aren't any more qualified to be the senator than I'm qualified to be the senator, except we're lucky enough to be here. But let me read you what the qualifications of the Secretary of Defense is, because I Googled it and went through a lot of different sites, and really it's hard to see. But in general, the U.S. Secretary of Defense position is filled by a civilian. That's it. If you have served in the U.S. Army Forces and have been in the service for, you have to be retired for at least 7 years, and Congress can weigh that. And then there's questions that the senator from Massachusetts brought up about serving on a board inside the military industry, and yet your own secretary that you all voted for, Secretary Austin, we had to vote on a waiver because he stepped off the board of Raytheon. But I guess that's okay because that's a Democrat.
Yeah.
Secretary of Defense.
See how that works? Of course you do.
But you so quickly forget about that, and then Senator Kane, or I guess I better use the senator from Virginia, starts bringing up the fact that what if you showed up drunk to your job? How many senators have showed up drunk to vote at night?
Here we go.
Have any of you guys asked them to step down and resign from their job? And don't tell me you haven't seen it because I know you have. And then how many senators do you know have got a divorce before cheating on their wives? Did you ask them to step down? No, but it's for show. You guys make sure you make a big show and point out the hypocrisy because the man's made a mistake.
Okay, see the guy right here? That's a massive leftist. This guy named King or Kane. That's Tim Kaine. That's who he's talking about. And he's shaking his head because, fuck, I got caught in a bit of irony and maybe some hypocrisy.
And you want to sit there and say that he's not qualified? Give me a joke. I mean, it is so ridiculous that you guys hold yourself as this higher standard and you forget you got a big plank in your eye. We've all made mistakes. I've made mistakes. And Jennifer, thank you for loving him through that mistake. Because the only reason why I'm here and not in prison is because my wife loved me too. I have changed.
How many times do you hear applause at hearings and laughter at the side of the Democrats?
But I'm not perfect. but I found somebody that thought I was perfect. And for whatever reason, you love Pete, and I don't know why. But just like our Lord and Savior forgave me, my wife's had to forgive me more than once too, and I'm sure you've had to forgive him too. And so thank you. So before I go down this rabbit hole again, tell me something about your wife that you love.
She's the smartest, most capable, loving, humble, honest person I've ever met. In addition to being incredibly beautiful. Don't forget about your kids. I'm supposed to talk about my kids?
No, well, she's also the mother.
Oh, an amazing mother.
Yes.
Of our blended family of 7
Brother,
kids.
I'm pulling
all of
you
which love
along.
her.
I'm trying to help you here. You know, do you believe?
Okay, let me stop here for a second. Blended family. Now, you know what? I'm not even going to go there. I'm running out of time. Let's continue.
That you're going to be running the Secretary or the Department of Defense by yourself?
Senator, absolutely not. Just as President Trump is assembling his cabinet, I look forward and already am in the process of building one of the best possible teams you can imagine, with decades and decades of experience outside of the Pentagon, driving innovation and excellence, and also inside the building, knowing how to make it happen. Yes, sir.
He's a change agent. They don't want Pete Hegseth because he's a change agent.
So,
and he's a disruptor, just like Trump.
And your organizations that you did have the privilege of running, did you have a board that you?
In both organizations, we had a board. Yes.
Okay. And what did you do with that board? What kind of decisions did you make with them?
Those boards provided oversight and insight into decision-making.
They all have special, unique sets that maybe filled gaps that you're not the expertise in?
Yes, sir.
So do you believe you're capable of surrounding yourself with capable individuals that you're going to be able to run those same ideas by, and surround yourself with people that are smarter and better equipped in maybe areas that you don't necessarily carry those expertise with?
Senator, the only reason I've had success in life, to include my wonderful wife, is because of people more capable around me and having the self-confidence to empower them and say, hey, run with the ball, run with the football, take it down the field. We'll do this together. I don't care who gets the credit. And in this case, that's how the Pentagon will be run.
That's why they hate him. He is a change agent. He is the quintessential change agent. I'm BZ. Let's take a break. Maybe you got to use and hit the electric winkle chamber. If you do, now's your time. I'll be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Edge of Liberty. Join me right here on the SHR Media Network every Monday and Friday, 12 on the Pacific, 3 on the East Coast. On this show, we'll discuss news, politics, the government, how cranky we are about the government, and more. If you want to hear hard talk, good interviews, sarcasm, bad jokes, and oh God, that really is me in a nutshell. Either way, check me out right here on the Edge of Liberty every Monday and Friday, 12 Pacific, 3 on the East, on the SHR Media Network.
Freedom. One nation in all of human history was built on that bedrock. Ours. A republic of the people, by the people, and for the people. Self-government requires freedom, just as freedom requires an individual willingness to self-govern. Freedom has made America exceptional, but it can only last as long as you and I seek the good, as expressed by the laws of nature and nature's God. It can only last if you and I choose to act as people of character. Forging character has been the pursuit of Hillsdale College since 1844.
Are you looking for a way to boldly express your faith and love for your country? Then check out Seven Armors, the premier apparel company for patriotic men of God, where faith meets freedom in style. Our t-shirts are more than just clothing, they're statements. Bold, stylish, and meaningful. From timeless messages to modern designs, we've got something for every patriotic man of God. Wear your beliefs proudly with Seven Armors gear. Don't miss the chance to wear your faith and freedom on your sleeve. Visit 7armors.com today and join the movement. That's the number 7armors.com. 7armors.com. Faithful, vigilant, steadfast, passion.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And I am back. This is the SHR Media Network. I am BZ, one each. Thanks for being here tonight. There are 33 people who are watching live right now. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. But that's just with this show live. That's just on watching. I'm guessing, I think those numbers are from the SHR Media YouTube channel. I'm guessing. I'm not quite sure. In any event, thanks for being here tonight. We were talking about Pete Hegseth, and I said, let's talk about equality. And I said that I probably would have a story about how things aren't actually equal. And Hegseth said, and rightly so, properly so, standards should not be relaxed for anyone, for any reason. And I say that, I never served in the military. I told you the story about the tornado and all that kind of stuff. I instead served 42 years in law enforcement. Actually, 41 and a half, almost 42 years in law enforcement. That was my service. But Pete Hegseth has continuously and consistently said, nobody's equal until everybody is equal. That's equality of opportunity, not a guarantor of outcomes, which is equity. Equity is not feasible. It's not realistic. This is from Marine Corps Times. New concerns that lower fitness standards fuel disrespect for women. Okay. There are two standards for men and women. And I'm not harping just on women. Look at the men or the boys or whatever they want to call themselves today. Yesterday, I went to get some sheets laminated, and I went to a particular place that laminates sheets. And this is North Idaho. And there's a guy there who's overweight. He looks like he's about 6'1", maybe 20, I'd say maybe 25 years old. He's wearing a mask. Maybe that is because he really is truly unhealthy. And on his tag, I know his name, it says they, them. So you think you're going to get a guy named they, them to go out for the military? You think he's going to be in any form or shape for the military? And the answer is no. That standard should not be relaxed for women. And that standard should not be relaxed for men, for anyone. It's our beloved Corps. It's our beloved military. And yes, we're going to have issues with recruitment. We certainly have. But the standards and the strictures must be tight, and they must be maintained. And BZ, as you can see, according to this article right here, I've got another one coming, as a matter of fact. Men and women should be held to the standards. And if you have a fat boy, the fat boy doesn't get in. It took me decades to get to look like this. I had to work hard and long on it. But the standards should not be relaxed, and the standards must be there. Let me make a Mark 1 Model 1. Oh, geez, I'm looking at my show and all the stuff that I don't think I'm going to be able to get to tonight. Let me make this prediction. Once January 20th comes around and you see Pete Hegseth installed as SecDef, and I think there will probably be some very good appointments on down the line. You're going to see more and more people want to sign up to get back into the military, where prior it was a damn clown show with mental mutants. You know, my like I said, my filter is gone. The people on the right are mental mutants. It's mental mutants who make cadets and recruits do that. That's a mental mutant. These people are unsound of mind. These are my opinions. I get to state them. Unsound of mind. And that needs definitely to be the end of an era. But you must have the same standards for everyone. And here's another article. Now, people were talking about, remember G.I. Jane? I think it was Demi Moore that was in G.I. Jane. You know what? If you can do everything that the rest of the individuals can do in special operations, God bless you. That's fabulous. That's outstanding. This is SOFrep.com. Women in standards in special operations and special minutes and special units. This article was recently published covering the journey of the first female candidate set to graduate the Special Forces qualification course and earn the Green Beret. Now, this individual, the author says, women belong in special operations, and it would be narrow-minded to limit their opportunities to serve in special operations due to gender stereotypes. In special operations, this refers to the different physical capabilities between men and women and the rigorous physical standards that must be met to serve in a special operations role. But the author admits this. There is a significant net benefit gained by reasonably adjusting female physical standards in a manner that accounts for the natural biological differences between men and women. So you can already see the bent of this particular article, but at least this leftist, I can only assume that individual has made an admission. When I was a detective, I sought two things. First, from a suspect, I sought an admission. And then I would push for a confession. This individual has made an admission. Female physical standards need to be adjusted in a manner that accounts for the natural biological differences between men and women. Leftists would say there are no differences. Well, that's wrong, because you're endangering lives. And the standards must be the same. And that's essentially, as far as I can discern, that's what Pete Hegseth is saying. But the standards are not the same. I have shown you articles, that's just two, because I can't keep all these tabs open. That's just two articles where
they're throwing the book.
Oh, this is a good one. Let me see if I can pull this back. Standards must be the same. Let me just leave it at that. This is another video. This is Pete Hegseth addressing responsibility, which is something, again, critically lacking today and, of course, in the military. This is what Pete says.
Because everybody in this room knows, if you're a rifleman and you lose your rifle, they're throwing the book at you. Mm-hmm. But if you're a general who loses a war, you get a promotion. That's not going to happen in Donald Trump's Pentagon.
Thank God. But again, that's what Pete Hegseth and Donald John Trump, OMB, Orange Man Bad, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, that's what they're pushing for. Accountability and responsibility. And like I said, I want to emphasize once again, there were Democrats who did not purposely, intentionally did not meet with Pete Hegseth. So why didn't he prioritize Democrats over anybody else when he met with them to discuss the confirmation hearings? He didn't need to. He already knew all the Democrats were going to oppose him. Period. End of statement. And this does not disappoint. It's true now. He needed to convince the asshole rhinos. Those were the individuals that he had to convince. And that's why he's hated. Hegseth told senators Trump's primary charge to him was to bring the warrior culture back to the Department of Defense, and that he wants a Pentagon laser focused on warfighting, lethality, meritocracy, standards, and readiness. That's it. That is my job. First time tonight. Abso-fucking-lutely. Again, filter broken. Enough of this pussified military. Enough of pussified law enforcement. It does no one any good. If we can't save ourselves, who's going to save us? And at this point, it's not looking very good for the government. And we're going to be moving over into this because, let's see. Now it's time for here.
Tales from the racist, sexist industrial complex, courtesy of BZ, here on the Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show.
Thank you for that intro. Now this is CGI because you know this is not going to happen, but it makes my point. This didn't happen. This didn't have to happen. We're going to talk about owls in just a bit. See, what we just saw right there, it kind of chokes me up. That didn't have to happen. And the animals that leftists allegedly love, but are sufficiently stupid to not understand the consequences of their actions and inactions, ended up, let me summarize if I may before we continue. And I think this can be illustrated by this. Let me see if I can find it. This is how celebrity millionaires, it's not a matter of would sleep, but they did sleep like this if your house burned down. Like South Lake Tahoe, like Paradise, like the murdering PG&E. Isn't it interesting that no one gave a shit that California, always spelled with a K, previously flamed the fuck out of thousands and thousands of residents? PG&E murdered roughly 90 people. Hundreds of thousands of acres were burned to the ground. Multiple millions and millions of animals were killed, burned alive, had their nests, their burrows, their habitats destroyed. The air befouled consistently for years by hundreds and hundreds of thousands of tons of noxious chemicals, smoke, carcinogens. Millions and millions of board feet of good timber were obliterated. Citizens lost their homes, all their property, their businesses, and worse. And now Californians and the nation are starting to realize that the feds, the state, counties have been ignoring and or reprehensibly mismanaging everything, our valuable assets like forests and land and water. And now it's only because wealthy people in beautiful homes with amazing mountain and ocean views are having their properties razed to the ground by policies that have been in place for more than 6 decades, at least. Literally made worse in the past 20 years by more egregious leftist policies in the state of California. Always spelled with a K. Now suddenly, magically, mystically, how did this happen? It's big umbrage. It's torches and pitchforks. Where's the accountability? What have you been doing with our taxes? These people are saying. Because their fucking ox was gored. Oh, the people in Northern California, all those rubes and idiots of little consequence. So what have you been doing with our taxes? And funny thing is, ain't that rich? Because if there's one thing that fire does, it levels the damn playing field. It doesn't give a shit who you are or how much money you make. And all these wealthy people, yeah, they were disturbed by all the fires in Northern California, up where I am. I was almost burned out of a fire in 2015. That was one of the primary reasons that I decided I had to get the hell out of California. And I did. Thank God. Oh, but wait. Thank God that we have someone like Joe Biden in the office. Because remember the people in North Carolina and those affected by Hurricane Helene? Do you remember how much money they got? They got a $750 one-time fee. Well, wait. Oh, you people in Pasadena, Altadena, all you people in Palisades. Oh, you're going to love this.
I want to be clear. We're not waiting until those fires are over to start helping the victims. We're getting them help right now, as you all know. People impacted by these fires are going to receive one-time payment of $770.
Stop. Do you understand what he said? Did you hear what he said? Now, the people who suffered due to Hurricane Helene, they got $750. The people down in Southern California are going to get $20 more. Those rubes got $750. You guys in Southern California are going to get $770. Damn, how lucky you are. And who's helping this? Let's continue. Who's doing this? Who's helping it? Well, the federal government. Isn't that a grand, just a wonderful thing? The government. Let's see. Here we go. This is what I want you to hear. Now, Mayor Bass and Gavin Newsom, governor and mayor of LA, respectively, weren't the only two assholes who danced to the tune of DEI. This is what you need to see. This is what, who is this? Quinones, who's the LA water chief, Department of Water and Power. Janice Quinones. She makes $750,000 a year. She's the highest paid employee in the county of Los Angeles. And here are her priorities for you Angelinos. Stop. Might help if I turned on the audio. Let's go.
And I know that it's been really important for the DWP to put an equity lens on everything.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the number one thing that attracted me to this role. It's important to me that everything we do.
Play that again.
DWP to put an equity lens on everything.
Yes. Yeah. And that's.
See your smile? Equity is most important than providing you water.
The number one thing that attracted me to this role. It's important to me that everything we do, it's with an equity lens and social justice and making sure that we right the wrongs that we've done in the past from an infrastructure perspective, and that we involve the community in that process.
It's not providing power to you. That's not important. That's not important at all. What's important is making sure that equity occurs. Now, this has been played any number of times, and I'm going to play it again. Let's see if I can get this thing. Sometimes when you have Instagram, it's kind of difficult to get these things to rewind. So unfortunately, I think I've chopped some of this off, but this is one of the LAFD assistant chiefs. This is Christine Larson. And you've probably heard this before, but this is, I don't know. I don't even know how to quantify this in terms of words. This is disgusting. She's disgusting. This is an overweight assistant chief, a former firefighter that I guess was out in the field for a while, or maybe she just skipped the actual job and got inserted as DEI chief. Listen to what she has to say. Damn it, Jim. There we go. I'm just going to have to try to play this over again. This is not easy to play.
House, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that
you want to have someone come to your fire scene who looks like you to make you more at ease.
somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire.
Oh, those are things to be completely ignored. That's not important. To carry my husband out of a fire. Listen to what she says about this. I guess she.
Which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
Now, perhaps you would think that that's the Babylon Bee making a disgusting video, because even that would be semi-disgusting, very disgusting, truly, for the Babylon Bee to do that, to say that that was important. But that's not the Babylon Bee. Let me help to show you part and parcel of what's going on, because it occurred, I believe, this is my opinion. This show is all about my opinions and the ability to illustrate to you aspects about my opinions. But this is Malibu. Let's watch. Home after home after home, after smoldering home on the beach. Literally, oceanfront property worth millions and millions and millions. But what's the difference between that and, say, Miami Beach or Lahaina? Let's go to Lahaina. I was in Lahaina. It was a beautiful little teeny town in Maui, I believe. Is it going to get built back? Now, look and see what you had in that video. And what you had were single family dwellings with incredibly beautiful beach views. That's called R1 zoning. Now, if you're thinking like I do, what's the zoning change going to be in the future? And what did Rahm Emanuel say? Always take advantage of a crisis. Do you suspect that Maui is going to take advantage of a crisis? Do you think that LA County is going to take advantage of a crisis?
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Welcome to River of Common Sense, where we cut through the noise of news and politics with a sharp wit and clear discussion. Tune in every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a refreshing dose of reality as we fearlessly tackle the tough topics with no nonsense, just pure common sense. Visit shrmedia.com to discover where you can catch River of Common Sense in action. He's here to amplify your inner logic. He may not always be polite, he may not always be refined, but one thing's for sure, he always tells it like it is.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being, and in the good that comes from exercising these rights well. The founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire.
Attention, all patriotic women of faith. Yep, I'm talking to you, sis. Are you looking for high quality, super soft apparel that reflects your love for country and your devotion to God? Look no further than Carry Girl Gear. Picture this, you rocking a tee so soft it's like being hugged by a cloud, all while showing off your love for God and country. Sounds dreamy, right? Well, welcome to reality, babes, because that's what we're all about here at Carry Girl Gear. We specialize in super soft tees, tanks, and more, designed specifically for the strong, patriotic woman who proudly wants to carry their message of faith and freedom. When you shop with us, you're not just getting a t-shirt. You're joining a community of like-minded women who are proud to wear their beliefs straight on their tees. So whether you're sipping sweet tea on the porch or leading the charge for faith and freedom, do it in a Carry Girl tee. Because life's too short for stiff, boring tees. CarryGirl.com, where faith and freedom meets fashion.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And I'm back. It's the final half hour. Welcome back to BZ's Berserk, Bobcat, Saloon radio show, live and direct from the SHR Media studio in North Idaho. So thank you so kindly for watching tonight on Rumble and X and SHRmedia.com, the SHR Media YouTube channel, and the Stentorian KLRN. Our plush, sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent chat rooms await you. Just jump into chat, share the show, subscribe to the show. If you share it, by the way, I don't think I've said this in a while, but the truth is that each subscription gets me either a porcelain Dalmatian or perhaps, hopefully, more vodka. And it's not Russian potato water, okay? I don't drink that GURP. It's Kettle One. Life is too short for cheap vodka. And I'm sure everybody here would agree with me. Let's go into some of the comments that occurred while I was watching and playing the break. Jeremy Hansen observed, the rhinos are the biggest threat. Well, yes, they definitely are. Most deaf in terms of the Hegseth and the other Trump confirmations. And Jeremy Hansen also observed in chat, they will use this as the start for their smart cities and their 15-minute cities. That is absolutely it. Now let's go on to another story. Karen Bass says this is false. Gavin Newsom says this is false. This is from the Gateway Pundit. Leaked memo exposes incompetent LA Mayor Karen Bass's $49 million fire department budget cut demand just 1 week before the wildfires erupted. That plan would have shut down 16 fire stations. But of course, Los Angeles is a sanctuary city. And it's the capital, the Southern California capital of DEI, woke, and everything associated with it. But LA County can't provide for the basics. Because frankly, it doesn't care about the basics. Fire protection, that can go to hell. Police protection, well, that can go to hell. Everything about race and sex, now that's a priority in terms of leftists. Here's something that nobody else has pointed out. And I'll point it out to you tonight. Karen Bass said, oh, it doesn't make any difference that I was in Ghana. I came back. I was here. Except that she promised that she wouldn't go abroad as LA mayor. She wouldn't spend your hard-earned tax dollars in that fashion. So instead, what she did is she decided that she was going to take 5, count them, 5, taxpayer-funded trips overseas. Now, if you're the president of the United States, yeah, okay, I could see that. The only reason to do that, if you're the LA mayor, is because you can. So she will. And if she did it once, she'll do it again. Now, let's examine this just for a second. Let me throw something out to you. I may go into a little bit of overtime. I will try not to. Because right now it's 9:36 here in Pacific time. It's 11:36 Central, and it's 12:36 on the far, 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 far right coast. Jeremy Hansen brought made a very interesting point, to which I said, you know what? Yes, thank you. They probably will use this as an excuse to start their smart cities, their 15-minute cities. Well, what do I mean by that? What's coming to Los Angeles, as a matter of fact? Well, that would be the Olympics. Let's reference Klaus Schwab on 2030 Los Angeles. This is what he thinks Los Angeles should be like in 2030.
The 20th Governance Summit. You will use the app like Uber, but not anymore to call some driver, but automatically guided car, a self-driven car will come to your hotel or wherever you are and will bring you to the airport. No, Los Angeles is one of the cities with the heaviest traffic, who told me in 2030, Los Angeles will be private car driven free.
And there you go. So do you see any justification for the things that are occurring right now, the abominations? What are the motivations? Always ask, what's the motivation? Here you go.
And this will allow to transform highways into parks and other public spheres.
And then that way, according to Klaus, you will hear the lamentations of their women. Thanks, Klaus. Really appreciate that. And remember, I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the show in the first hour that the apartment complex in Aurora, Colorado, which the mayor said, oh, there are no gangs in this complex. That's a load of crap. That's a load of right-wing crap. Except there were gangs. And then the mayor and the police chief said, no, that's a load of crap. Our apartment complexes are fine. There are no gangs. None of that happened. And then, of course, there were gangs. And 9 of them got arrested. And then a judge shut down the particular affected complex. Don't believe your lying eyes. Now, did any of you suspect or watch this video? And I said in social media, probably at least a week ago, almost a week ago, I said, hey, I wonder if this guy setting fires, I don't know if you can see this, but right there's something yellow in this guy's hand. That's a torch for setting fires. Listen and watch. He's confronted. He has this blowtorch. He was stopped. Citizens stopped him. And here's them doing exactly that. They called the police. Now we know the man who was arrested by police with a blowtorch near the Kenneth Fire in West Hills, California, always spell it with a K, has been identified as Juan Manuel Sierra Leyva. He is an illegal invader. apparently all your spidey senses did and should have gone off. Let's play this. This is the next and I believe final segment of the show.
Leftists are dangerously insane. Courtesy of BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show and the SHR Media Network.
You want to know about your 34-count convicted felon, Donald John Trump, OMB, Orange Man Bad, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head? Let's listen to this.
Judge Wilson, what's the statute of limitations on a misdemeanor in New York?
1 year.
The business records case is a misdemeanor, correct?
The underlying crime, the falsifying business records, yes, that's a misdemeanor charge.
So the only way to get to a felony is by committing it, or is by in concealment of another crime.
Correct.
And each one of those crimes has specific elements.
Right.
That's right.
And you have to prove, in order to get a conviction at trial, you have to prove every element of the crime beyond a reasonable doubt, right? That's just traditionally how this works.
That is the right way to do it.
So in the indictment, did they put the underlying crime?
No, they did not. They only described it as other crimes.
Okay. And in the jury instructions, did they put the specific underlying crime?
No, the falsifying business records was described in the jury instructions. There was some brief description of the New York State election law violation, but there was no description given of the choice of three crimes. There was a description given of falsifying business records, which was pretty ironic because it was falsifying business records to falsify business records.
So, and that's also a misdemeanor, right?
That should be, yeah.
So you have 2 + 2 = 6. Like if you commit 2 misdemeanors, you get to the felony statute of limitations, which they had to get or they could have never brought the case.
That's correct. But there's some more question marks regarding the statute of limitations. It's not cut and dry because the time that...
Unless you operate like most leftists and Democrats under Thug's Law. And you've heard me talk about this before. Thug's Law was originally conceived by thugs, criminals. And their law is what's mine is mine and what's yours is mine unless you're strong enough to stop me. And leftists have taken this. I speak leftist, so I'll translate for you. They've taken this to mean that laws mean nothing. We'll do whatever the hell we want unless someone is strong enough to stop us. Unless someone opposes us, stands in our way, becomes physical, is somehow it's legislated, and or we're taken to court, or a combination of all of those three. Thug's Law. That's how people in New York operate.
Donald Trump spent out of New York could be used to toll the statute of limitations. That was the ruling in the Court of Appeals Harvey Weinstein case. He argued that the time that he spent out of California should not have tolled it, out of New York, that is, in California, should not have tolled the time limitations, but the Court of Appeals ruled against him on that issue. So that's, I think, how they get around the statute of limitations problem in this case.
So was the election law case a
So the statute of limitations are not limiting.
federal election law or state election law underlying crime?
Seemed like it was charged as both. When we got to the jury instructions, there's a violation of New York election law charged, but then there's one among the three charges underlying is an unspecified violation of federal election law.
And then the third one was tax violation, right?
Unspecified. Do you as a citizen not have the right to hear all of the elements of the law arraigned and arrayed before you? And do you not have a right to be heard? And do you not have a right to confront your accuser?
Also unspecified.
So all three of those underlying crimes have significantly different elements of the crime.
That is correct.
Were any of the elements of those crimes listed?
No, not at all.
So, this
immaterial. Immaterial. If you're a Democrat, you see where this is going. Again, I'm running out of time. But you can see how Thug's Law is applicable to just about every circumstance. This is the one that's going to drive you nuts. Now, if you remember, It was the spotted owl, according to the Sierra Club and various Californians, always spell it with a K. It was the spotted owl whose habitat we would disturb if we began to resume lumbering, cutting timber and logging in the state of California. It would disturb their habitat. Okay, what part of this makes sense? This is about 1 minute of, at the end of it, you're going to go, what the hell?
The Biden administration first approved sending trained shooters into West Coast forests to kill up to 450,000 barred owls, just to save the endangered spotted owl.
We do know that they are currently doing this in some forests, more on a test case basis.
State Representative Ed Deal is one of several Oregon lawmakers urging the incoming Trump administration to cancel that plan. In a letter to Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, leaders of the new Department of Government Efficiency, they argue the plan will waste taxpayer money without solving the problem. The 30-year plan could cost taxpayers a staggering $1.35 billion, with each owl's death priced at $3,000, according to the Center for a Humane Economy and Animal Wellness Act.
Okay, you can't make this up. $3,000 to kill an owl, to save another owl. Let's kill 500,000 owls to save another owl. Yeah, I'm not kidding.
Action. The plan has sparked fierce controversy in Washington state, too, with critics arguing that killing so many owls is an extreme and inhumane solution to a complex problem.
So that's like Democrats and leftists, anti-science people, like Bill Gates, want to block the sun to cool the climate. You can't write this. Sean in chat, by the way, going back to the original story before the break. $770 for the people of California from Biden, but 100% funding, said Biden. Who's getting the money? Money laundering, and how many billions is California in debt? Oh, but wait, don't you remember? Gavin Newsom, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, said California is in a surplus. So then you have to ask yourself, any logically thinking human being would say, okay, if you have a surplus, on whose backs did you balance that? And any logical thinking human being has to ask that question. Who got hosed over that? Speaking of hosed, here's the person who, thank God, is going away. And this is how delusional is this unit. Let's see. Do I have my volume up? Let's go.
Compared to 4 years ago, America is stronger. Our alliances are stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Our adversaries and competitors are weaker.
Right.
We have not gone to war to make these things happen.
Mm-hmm.
During my presidency, I've increased America's power at every dimension. We've increased our diplomatic power.
And we've increased our power in every dimension, including the power. Some days I say I speak leftist, but actually,
just received these documents.
I can't speak that. Now, last Tuesday, I didn't do a show on Thursday because Mrs. BZ had a birthday. It was a great time for all. She had a great time. Took her to a spa. We looked out on the 9th floor, overlooking a lake. She had a great time. Got her a nice spa massage for her and everything. Had a wonderful time. We weren't here Thursday. Last Tuesday, I told you about Pierre Poilievre. Maybe I spelled it right. He's looking like he's going to be taking the place of Pierre Trudeau, and it couldn't happen fast enough.
We just received these documents that Trudeau has been covering up for years. Documents related to a massive security breach at the Trudeau government's most sensitive laboratory, where the most dangerous viruses and pathogens are studied and handled. Wow. We have learned that the Trudeau government's head of pathogens was collaborating with members of Beijing's People's Liberation Army who are responsible for bioweapons and bioterrorism.
Wait, you mean it wasn't just the United States of America that was in league with Communist China?
We know now that a People's Liberation Army official was able to gain personal access, walk in the door, look at computers, and have access to all of our most important virological secrets.
Okay. Anyone besides me think that's just absolutely nuts? I got about 10 minutes. I'm not going to do this article, nor am I going to do that one. Okay, Joe Vegetable spoke. Now, Joe Vegetable is going to speak again. Listen closely to what he says. What?
I think I would have beaten Trump, could have beaten Trump, and I think that Kamala could have beaten Trump.
Kamala could have beaten Trump. But she didn't.
Would have beaten Trump.
This is not a theoretical exercise.
Yeah.
Kamala could have beaten Trump, would have beaten Trump. She did not beat Trump. I thought we'd pull up the data. So let's pull up the Real Clear Politics average. This is the last data set we have. And as you can see, Donald Trump would have beaten him, according to polls, by 3.1%, which is double what he beat Kamala by.
Isn't that amazing? And yet this guy is saying, Kamala would have beaten Trump. Would have beaten Trump. I will address these on a later show. But I'm going to have to go over these in a semi-rapidimento fashion. Chris Wray is resigning. And this is essentially the topic by which Mike Fitzpatrick, my cybersecurity expert, and I are going to be speaking next Tuesday, which is the 21st, if I'm not mistaken. So Chris Wray says, right before resigning, hey, you know what? China has penetrated almost everything that we've got. It's penetrated our water treatment plants, our infrastructure, our electric grid, critical civilian infrastructure, and is lying in wait for an opportunity to cyber attack at a time and a place of its own choosing. But nobody seems to be particularly concerned about that, except me and just a handful of other people. I guess you'd have to call me a prepper. Because I think if you're not essentially a prepper, food, water for weeks, you're not operating in reality. Now, you can quantify this under the let's just shit in the Trump punch bowl hashtag because we can. Biden administration to remove Cuba from state sponsor of terrorism list. They first got placed on the terrorism list in 1982. Obama removed Cuba in 2015. Trump placed the communist country back on the list in 2020, and Biden is removing it from the list again. You can be guaranteed that Trump is going to put Cuba, communist Cuba, back on that list. Here's something else that you need to know about. This is from KCAL. This is January 11th. 3 Humvees stolen from Tustin Army Reserve Center. That's in Southern California. Thieves stole 3 Humvees from the Tustin Army Reserve Center Wednesday night. The Tustin Police Department said the suspects cut a lock to enter the parking lot between 8 and 11:30 p.m. They stole the vehicles, one of which was armored, and left at an unknown time. Additionally, multiple storage lockers were broken into and missing gear. The suspects allegedly tried to cut a lock to uniform storage, but failed. I can't imagine why they would want to do that, can you? The Army said the suspects did not steal any weapons or ammunition other than 18 bayonets. Here's a full list of the missing vehicles. 3 Humvees, 1 armored. Those are the numbers. 8 machine gun mounts, 7 freestanding machine gun tripods, medical equipment, 40 pairs of binoculars, and 18 bayonets. On Friday, police recovered one of the Humvees in Orange. By the way, folks, you do know that there are terror cells, terror sleeper cells, and I've showed you those stories before, within the continental United States of America. Here's another insane story. Timing is everything. It can be good or bad. This is from Breitbart. Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro threatens to invade Puerto Rico. And again, you can place this into what? Socialist dictator of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, threatened to use Brazilian troops not even of his own country, to liberate Puerto Rico from the United States colonization. Timing is everything. If you were to do that after January 20th, I think there would be an issue. Well, I'm very certain that there would be an issue. Well, that's just about it for the show. I hope you've had a great time. I'll be back Thursday. Again, a programming note. Thursday, I'm going to have somebody on the show who is working with J6 prisoners. Trump, on January 20th, has said before that he's going to grant pardons to J6 prisoners that were not involved in violent activities. And she wants to be there and has organized a number of people to try to be present on that day, January 20th, perhaps the 21st. No one knows for sure yet, I think, to make sure that these people are received appropriately and that J6 prisoners, when pardoned, have somebody waiting for them. I think that's a wonderful thing. Now, I just found her on the internet. I don't know much about her, but as I used to do a couple of times before, this could be very interesting. I'm going to have a lot of questions. I think she's going to be here for about an hour. She said, now, 15 minutes, maybe a half hour. I may have talked her into an hour. You know how that goes. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. So that's Thursday's show. Next Tuesday's show is going to be with Mike Fitzpatrick and the Chinese laying in wait in all of our infrastructure. And again, 33 people watching live right now, this late at night on a Tuesday night. God bless you all. So that means so, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network, on Rumble, on the SHR Media YouTube channel, on X, on Twitch, and the munificently grandiose KLRN. Thanks to you guys. And tons of, also a ton of bulbous podcast locales all over the fruited blade. And as I've said many times, God, I have to change this because sometimes people aren't applicable. I used to thank Boeing. I don't thank Boeing anymore. But I do say that promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, by Shure and Electro Voice microphones, because I have both of them here in the studio, and also by Arrakis boards. That's the one I use. And also by Pratt & Whitney engines featuring thrust. You can trust. Tiaras are naturally by My Little Pony. And as I have indicated to you, this great mug may have had water, or maybe it didn't. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team with whom I shall be consorting, and everybody, all of you, all of y'all, God bless, take care, be safe.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep. Night, everybody. Night, Mama. Night, Ben. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth. Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Good night,
Jim
Jim
Bob.
Good night and good luck.